Well, ladies and gentlemen, those are visuals coming from the Zayed Stadium in Abu Dhabi, and we're watching history being made. As Bharat has reclaimed its rightful legacy, the world has embraced Hindu Renaissance. Gone are the days when so-called secularists attacked what they coined the saffron terror. No longer will Jai Shri Ram be called a war cry, and no longer will Bharat be tagged as an Islamophobic nation. Today, Prime Minister Modi, who in the past has been maligned as the divider-in-chief, has been hailed as a bridge to the Muslim world. Never one to shy away from wearing his saffron credentials on his sleeve, he has shown that one can be a devout Hindu and at the same time guarantee sabka saath. Prime Minister Modi's trip to the Middle East is another historic milestone for both Bharat and Hinduism, while also the warm embrace and a personal reception that was given him shows complete support of those belonging to the other religion, the Muslim religion, because President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, where there was bonhomie, the bilaterals that were held, and remember, this is the 7th time Prime Minister Modi has visited the UAE since he became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit in 34 years when he touched down in the Middle East in 2015. After this, Prime Minister will tomorrow inaugurate the first ever Hindu temple in the UAE. The Baps Mandir sits on a sprawling 27 acres of land gifted by UAE. This mandir is a true embodiment of harmony. Islamic and Arabic architecture has been intricately woven with Hindu carvings, and there is a path around the mandir which has been named the Walk of Harmony. While 2,000 Indian artisans carved intricate scenes from Ramayana, Italian marble has been imported from Italy, and 7 spires around it symbolize the unity of the 7 Emirates. Today, Prime Minister Modi hailed the unique relationship between India and the UAE, where an Islamic nation has supported the building of a Hindu temple. And this statement made at the Zayed Stadium just a short while ago, just listen in to kind of history that has been made and the kind of camaraderie and harmony between religions and between a Hindu, predominantly Hindu country represented by somebody who is never been apologetic about his own identity, his own credentials as a Hindu, and also has shown his way of building harmony, building bridges with Muslim nations. Listen in to Prime Minister Modi.
जब साल 2015 में उनके सामने आप सबकी ओर से यहां अबू धाबी में एक मंदिर का प्रस्ताव रखा, तो वो तुरंत एक पल भी गंवाए बिना उन्होंने हाँ कह दिया। और उन्होंने यहां तक कह दिया, जिस जमीन पे तुम लकीर खींच लोगे वो मैं दे दूंगा। और अब अबू धाबी में ये भव्य दिव्य मंदिर के लोकार्पण का ऐतिहासिक समय आ गया है। साथियों, भारत यूएई की दोस्ती जितनी जमीन पर मजबूत है, उतना ही उसका परचम अंतरिक्ष में भी लहरा रहा है।
Well, secularists who in the past have ruled this country have never been able to build these kind of relationships as Prime Minister Narendra Modi has displayed over the last 7 years, in fact over the last 10 years. And is this secularism demonstrated by him better than the pseudo-secularism of the past? That's the debate we're going across to, and joining me on the debate tonight, Nalin Kohli, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow at the IPCS, Sabah Naqvi, senior journalist, Tehseen Poonawalla, political analyst, supports the Congress party. But my first question goes to Mr. Abbas Haider, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Abbas Haider, straight off the bat, Hamara Bharat, are you proud of Hamara Bharat and showcased in this manner in the Middle East? I want to ask you, is this not the biggest showcasing of Sabka Saath, and isn't the charge on Prime Minister Modi of being Islamophobic today completely falling flat on its face, given the fact that it is the United Arab Emirates, the 7 Emirates which have gotten together, given land for a mandir and welcomed Prime Minister Modi in the manner in which probably no Indian leader has ever been welcomed and loved as much. Abbas Haider, kahan gayi pseudo-secularism?
Navika ji, first of all, every Indian has always been proud of India and will always be. And as far as this event is concerned, our Prime Minister and the government is, they know very well how to organize events. We have seen in the past how Howdy Modi was organized in USA and what happened after that event. We have seen the US election last time. That's not my concern, however. Navika ji, the problem here is, see, in India, second largest Muslim population reside. They have been Indian for centuries. And Navika ji, if you talk about UAE, their total population is 20 times less than the Muslim population in India. So basically, Prime Minister and his government has tried to alienate Muslims in India. That is the concern. We are not concerned about UAE. We believe that whatever is in the interest of our nation, whatever is in the bilateral interest of our nation, our country, our government should go with that. We are happy with that. We believe that, we have moved from a policy of non-aligned to multi-alignment. That's fine with us. But the problem here is, what concerns us is, Navika ji, we should also welcome the UAE government, which that they have moved from a conservative system to a more liberal system. They have gifted land to build a mandir over there. We are very happy with that. We would welcome that step. But Navika ji, the concern here is the Prime Minister has tried to alienate Muslims in India. That is what concerns us. The budget of Minority Welfare Ministry has been dropped by 38%. And Navika ji, there is not even a single Muslim in the Union Cabinet of the Prime Minister. So this is what concerns us. You can't give a ticket to a Muslim in the UP Assembly or Lok Sabha in Uttar Pradesh. So basically a population which constitutes of 14-15% of India's population, a community, you are trying to alienate them politically, socially, educationally, and on the other hand, you are trying to portray Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. So that is the biggest hypocrisy of modern days, I would say.
Well, Nalin Kohli, Muslims in India alienated, Muslims in the UAE completely embraced. That's the problem of Abbas Haider. Now, what kind of secularism would you call this?
That's a skewed secularism. Mr. Haider, like any other Indian citizen, you, me, or anyone else, has the same rights under the Constitution. We are all equal under the Constitution. There is no distinction between a Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Parsi, Jew. And he's articulating his views. I disagree with it as much as he feels about his views. Because I think there is a small minority of people in the old power system that had created an impression of how it would be for Muslims in their eyes. So they talk about minority welfare. They don't look at Indian welfare, and Indians, irrespective of being Hindus or Muslims or Christians, Buddhists, Parsis, Jews, should develop and be part of the global story. And what did that 70 years reap? I mean, 65 years or maybe about 55 years when the Congress party was in government, working on this minority fear that, you should be separate, etc. What did it give them? Are they better off? Have they found more schemes to them? I think today, when you have 26 crore Indians receiving schemes from Government of India, that includes everyone of every religion. Prime Minister Modi in the parliament said, "Kab tak divide karoge?" When somebody across the opposition benches said, "What about minorities?" And that's the fact. Not one scheme, not one program of Prime Minister Modi's government distinguishes on Indians on the basis of religion. The problem is that Mr. Haider and his parties need to create a fear psychosis in the minds of Muslims. And what they want to do is say we are exclusion. We are, they want to build an exclusivity around it. For thousands of years, this was an inclusive society. India welcomed the first mosque even before the Islamic invaders came, which was in the 7th or 8th century. As it welcomed the first church. This was an inclusive society. But for about 1,000 years, it was an inclusive society. But for 1,000 years, starting from about the 11th century, invaders came in with their brand of Islam. That is not the Islam of those today who are inclusive. That was of invaders who wanted to rule a country by force. And they excluded the Hindus out of it, broke their temples, destroyed their places, destroyed Nalanda, Takshila, all learning places. Was that inclusive? So therefore, when Mr. Abbas is he's speaking of that era, which was an exclusion kind of thing, we were ruling kind of thing, versus today's era, when under the constitution we are all equal. So why do you want to have this separate identity? Why not an identity of an Indian first? And why should a Hindu be a second-class citizen for loving his religion as much as a Muslim loves his Islam or a Christian his Christianity? Each one has a right under the constitution for their religion, but just because the Prime Minister will go to a temple, he will become, oh, you are excluding the Muslims. But if he goes to a mosque, no, he's wonderful to the Muslims. Why? Why should the Prime Minister not go to a temple if he's a Hindu? Why should a Muslim minister or an MLA or an MP not go to a mosque? That does make him less Indian. So I think this brand of division that has been created by few political forces has never done India good. And this is a brand that we have to be careful of.
Well, let me get in Tehseen Poonawalla. Tehseen Poonawalla, for ages, the word saffron terror was used. Hindu Rashtra was considered as a bad name. Today, the Prime Minister has demonstrated that Ayodhya, the Pran Pratishtha of Ram Lala in the Ram Mandir, and friendship with Muslim nations in the Middle East can both coexist. I want to ask you, Tehseen Poonawalla, is this not the real secularism that we should be talking about instead of the skewed vote bank oriented secularism that has really been misused in India in the past?
Namaskar, Navika ji. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Good evening to you, to all my fellow panelists, and to all your viewers. First of all, each one of us on this panel are very proud of what the present government has achieved with its relations with the Middle East. There is no doubt about it. We've said it publicly. We all want India to succeed. We may differ politically, but we want India to succeed. And to that extent, this government's done a good job. So I don't think that has got to do with Hindu or Muslims. That's got to do with bilateral religion. Number two, our criticism of our Prime Minister, which is internal, has to do with his actions or actions of his colleagues in India with regarding to Indian citizens of any faith. Let me give you 3 or 4 examples. May I quote the Honorable Prime Minister against whom I had filed a complaint in the Election Commission. Dangayon ko kapron se pehchana jata hai. And he was referring to Muslims. That he technically escaped, I understand. Shamshan Kabristan, quoting the Honorable Prime Minister. These are statements made, and some of his colleagues have made these statements. We object to that. There is, the Prime Minister, that he gives legal guarantees that all Muslims get benefits as other Indian citizens, yes. But there is a serious problem in our country with regards to laws. For example, while rightly a panelist said the Middle Eastern countries, which are very conservative, are today walking the path of liberalism in India, in Uttarakhand. You now have a law where the police can enter your bedroom and your bed. You have to register who you are in a living relationship with, in a sexual relationship with. That is moral policing as happening in the Middle Eastern countries. It is worrying. It may be religiously agnostic. It is conservatism. We speak against that. We speak against bigotry. We speak against hate. And if we are speaking against it, it's not from a position where we are trying to be pseudo-secular. It's from a position of wanting our country to increase. May I ask you a question? You keep on saying pseudo-secular. Not you, as in I mean the media. My mother for ages has cleaned a temple. Is that pseudo-secularism, or is she doing it now because the Honorable Prime Minister said during the Pran Pratishtha that should happen? My mom's a Muslim lady. India's culture has been composite. As the BJP spokesperson Nalinji said, it will always be composite. What we speak about is hate speech. Not just on this side, even on our side of the divide where people like OAC make hate speech. We are speaking against that. And that is not speaking against the country, that is speaking up for the country.
Oh, on your side is only Owaisi. Anand Ranganathan, is Tehseen Poonawalla actually making a mistake of identification of the things said by the Congress's own members?
Indeed. Good evening, Navika. I feel like we've been transported back to the past. It's 2013 and 14 all over again. The same old trope, the same old fake narrative is being peddled again. I just want to respond to my good brother Abbas Bhai, because I think what he's done is he's laid these accusations that while Modi is loved by Muslims abroad, he is discriminating and anti-minority in India. So as far as this accusation of his is concerned that Modi is anti-minority, let me give you the hard data, because that is what actually dispels all these fake narratives the fastest and the quickest. Minorities before 2014, 20,000 skill trained, 5% with government jobs, 3 crore scholarships, 70% girls school dropout rate. Minorities after 2014, 2 million skill trained, 10% with government jobs, 5 crore scholarships, 3 UPSC coaching, 30% girls school dropout rate. In fact, Modi has given scholarships to more Muslims than Manmohan Singh did. Has Modi reduced AMU funding? No, in fact, he has increased it, including a 90 crore topping up, while our Muslim population is 14.2%. As many as 31.3% of homes under Awas Yojana, 33% of funds under Kisan Samman Nidhi, 36% beneficiary under Mudra Yojana have been Muslims. Pradhan Mantri Shadi Shagun scheme, exclusively for Muslims girls who complete their graduation before marriage. They will get 51,000, no question asked. Housing, skilling, scholarships, government jobs. No other Prime Minister in living memory has comparatively done more for Muslims than Modi has. This is the hard data. And as far as Abbas Bhai saying that there is no Muslim minister, that is why there is discrimination against Muslims. I want to ask him, the last time Samajwadi Party was in power, God knows how many decades ago that was, I want to ask him, was there a single homosexual minister in your ministry? By that logic, does that mean you are against homosexuals? Answer.
Abbas Haider, respond.
I mean, you cannot compare. No, Navika ji, first of all, you cannot compare apple and oranges. Second thing, let me tell you.
Why can't you compare?
The government and the
if you're saying only Muslim ministers can look after Muslim population, then only somebody who's a homosexual can look after the LGBTQ population. Simple logic.
No, Navika ji, no. Let me respond to all the accusation that Anand Bhai had made. Let me respond to them one by one. First of all, any scheme which has been brought up by the government, it cannot distinguish between citizens. And Anand Bhai, no, please don't heckle me. Let me just respond to you first. So any government cannot distinguish, differentiate between citizens on the basis of their caste, religion, or whatever. One thing. Second thing is the directive principle of state policy. It directs the state to ensure that the weaker section of the society, they should be, special measures should be taken for their upliftment, educational, financial, and social upliftment. So in that case, let me tell you, only 10% of the minority educational allocation has been used by the Modi government. Second thing, schemes,
Navika, please, you've had your say.
Scholarship scheme for minority has been done by the government.
There are so many things that have been given by the government. Whether it is mudra loans, whether it is scholarships, but you don't recognize those issues at all.
I'm saying.
Okay, 10 seconds, Anand Ranganathan.
This country,
yes, I throw a challenge to my
They are concerned about overall progress of our
Abbas Bhai, you got time to counter. Now please answer the question Anand Ranganathan has asked.
Navika, can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear
I can.
Me? I can't hear you. Okay, a simple question. I can't hear you. I think suddenly the phone has gone, but I'll continue in the hope that you can hear me. I want Abbas Bhai to name a single legal or constitutional stricture that is against Muslims. Not one can be named. I challenge you. On the other hand, I can right now name 3 constitutional legal strictures that are against Hindus. RTE Act provisions, Places of Worship Act, Waqf Act. Now I challenge you, name one. Name one against Muslims. मैं अपना नाम बदल दूंगा.
30 seconds, please name.
No, you cannot go against the constitution, sir. We have got a constitution.
So then what are you crying about? If the constitution is being upheld, if the constitution is being followed, then where is the problem? Schemes targeting Muslims are happening, then what is your problem? Your problem is that you have to create a fake narrative. That is your problem, Abbas Haider. Let me get in Sabah Naqvi.
No, Navika.
1 minute.
Just 5
Sabah
seconds.
Naqvi.
Just 5 seconds.
The lady first, Abbas Haider.
5 seconds.
Abbas Haider.
I'm just concerned.
I know you are very concerned. And your concerns have no basis, but let me get in Sabah Naqvi. Sabah Naqvi, the question here is, all this while, Prime Minister Modi has been branded as somebody who's anti-Muslim, he's Islamophobic, he's against the minorities. I just want to ask you, when he becomes the first Prime Minister in 34 years to build these kind of relationships with the Middle East, that you have 8 naval veterans being returned back to India after they were awarded a death sentence. Within 4 months of that death sentence, the verdict is overturned and our Indians come back home. The kind of relationship that has been built, the kind of progress that we see in terms of the engagement, not just on the social, on the diplomatic side, but reflecting even in things like RuPay card, UPI coming up, trade, investments that are coming in, and the kind of honor, the awards that have been given. Do you think Prime Minister Modi suddenly becomes a poster boy, though he's anti-Muslim at home, but becomes a poster boy of these Muslim countries?
This event was fascinating. It was very interesting, and it shows us the importance of India and to the UAE. But a little correction: there are Hindu temples in Dubai, so this might be in Abu Dhabi. I'll just make that correction. Okay. So this could be the first and it's excellent because millions of Indians go there, work there. These are basically emirates. These are not democracies. And we Indians go to these countries. We are part of the economy. It's skilled and unskilled, and we should have our places of worship. So excellent that this has happened, and Prime Minister Modi's moment today has been significant. It has diplomatic contours, all of that. But I don't agree with the way you are framing it. He's everyone's Prime Minister. This is a moment. I don't see how you link this entirely with the certain history that has happened in India. Yeah. I disagree that you need a minister, but you certainly need representation. If democracy is about representation, then you have to have people just as we calculate. There should be Dalits, there should be OBCs. Then the Bharatiya Janata Party must now, taking the lead from the Prime Minister's words about unity, about uniting all community. And Nalin, don't give me the data from the Northeast. Let's look at the Hindi belt where the population of India lives. Let's look at UP, which has a 20% Muslim population. I know you're going to give me Northeastern data about saying there are Christians here and Christians there. I know all that. I've covered the BJP for years. But let me just say this. So, democracy demands representation. I think we as Indians are watching this, and we would request the Prime Minister to extend this principle to all Indians, so that people within his party and ideological parivar do not actually bring down mosques, as one has happened. It has happened frequently in India. Mosques have been attacked, madrasas have been attacked. There are minority children who are homeless, not far from where I am. So all of that has also happened recently, and I speak of the without due process. This case is now in the court. The court has demanded that the Delhi Development Authority explain how a 600-year-old mosque was demolished without due process. In the process, little orphan Muslim children were rendered homeless. This happened not far from where many of us live in South Delhi. All these are little things that are happening. I still think it's a fascinating thing that's happened. The audience there is Indian. It is Indian Hindus and Indian Muslims. It is Indian workers who go there and work there.
Do you think, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, when Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi was a minister in the Modi government, do you remember anybody coming out and complimenting him that despite wearing his Hindu credentials on his sleeves, he has a Muslim minister? But now that there isn't one over the last, I think, couple of years, there is such a song and dance about the fact that there is no Muslim representation. And do you think not having a Muslim representative in the cabinet has actually skewed work done for the minorities?
Not at all. If you remember, with Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi and even before him, Shahbaz Hussain, do you remember the kind of taunts they used to get? Bike hue Musalman and all kinds of nonsense that they used to get thrown at them. So, this is, and it was particularly vicious. Second, we need to remember that we're in a very unique position in India. There is a difference between the Shia and the Sunni out here. You look at my friend Tehseen's community, they are probably the most progressive community. I'm not surprised that his mother goes and cleans a temple, because that family is one of the most progressive families in one of the most progressive sects of Islam that we have. The issue is very specifically Sunni families who are stuck since 1857 in an absolutely rapine feudal power structure which has not modernized in the last 150-200 years, which is exactly the same as the Pakistani elite complex that you see across the border. So what is Modi doing? He is delivering, and this is why the budget got reduced, because the budget given to the minority ministry does not mean the money spent on minorities. Please remember that. That money was spent separately on education schemes, on electrification, on building toilets, etc., 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 where the community then gets its due from the government and does not have to go through all kinds of middlemen who essentially weaponize and politicize the delivery of goods and services to average Muslims on the ground. Now,
average Muslims on the ground, Abhijit, I'm completely out of time, but the question is, the average Muslim on the ground, does he not see the magic that is happening in the Middle East? Is this only happening in the Middle East? Are these people in the Middle East not connected to families in India? And does this mean that the Prime Minister actually is showering his love to those who are in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, in Qatar, but doesn't really care about those families which are back home in India? Well, it is something that requires some soul searching, but if you're looking for 2-minute politics, obviously the all-around development and care that has gone into every citizen of India, regardless of his religion, is something that politicians will always be in denial of. But is the public in India in denial? That's the question that needs answering. We leave it at that. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on the Newshour tonight. We'll take a short break. On the other side, much more on the significance of Prime Minister Modi's visit to the UAE, coming up after this very short.